The past tense is a grammatical tense whose principal function is to place an action or situation in past time. In languages which have a past tense, it thus provides a grammatical means of indicating that the event being referred to took place in the past. Examples of verbs in the past tense include the English verbs sang, went and was. In some languages, the grammatical expression of past tense is combined with the expression of other categories such as mood and aspect. Thus a language may have several types of past tense form, their use depending on what aspectual or other additional information is to be encoded. French, for example, has a compound past for expressing completed events, an imperfect for expressing events which were ongoing or repeated in the past, as well as several other past forms. Some languages that grammaticalize for past tense do so by inflecting the verb, while others do so periphrastically using auxiliary verbs, also known as verbal operators. Not all languages grammaticalize verbs for past tense. Mandarin Chinese, for example, mainly uses lexical means to indicate that something took place in the past, although use can also be made of the tense aspect markers le and guo. The past time, to which the past tense refers, generally means the past relative to the moment of speaking, although in contexts where relative tense is employed it may mean the past relative to some other time being under discussion. A language's past tense may also have other uses besides referring to past time. For example, in English and certain other languages, the past tense is sometimes used in referring to hypothetical situations, such as in condition clauses like, if you loved me, where the past tense loved is used even though there may be no connection with past time. Some languages grammatically distinguish the recent past from remote past with separate tenses. There may be more than two distinctions. A general past tense can be indicated with the glossing abbreviation PST. Indo-European languages. The European continent is heavily dominated by Indo-European languages, all of which have a past tense. In some cases the tense is formed inflectionally as in English see, saw or walk, walked, and as in the French imperfect form, and sometimes it is formed periphrastically, as in the French passé composé form. Further, all of the non-Indo-European languages in Europe, such as Basque, Hungarian, and Finnish, also have a past tense. Germanic languages. English. In English, the past tense is one of the inflected forms of a verb. The past tense of regular verbs is made by adding d or ed to the base form of the verb, while those of irregular verbs are formed in various different ways, with regular and some irregular verbs. The past tense form also serves as a past mm. For full details of past tense formation, see English verbs. Past events are often referred to using the present perfect construction, as in I have finished. However, this is not regarded as an instance of the past tense, instead it is viewed as a combination of present tense with perfect aspect, specifying a present state that results from past action. Various multi-word constructions exist for combining past tense with progressive aspect, which denotes ongoing action, with perfect aspect, and with progressive and perfect aspects together. These and other common past tense constructions are listed below. The simple past consists of just the past tense form of the verb, although when it is negated, emphasized or inverted it is sometimes necessary to unfuse the verb, using a periphrastic construction with did, see do support. The simple past is used for describing single occurrences or habitual occurrences in the past, and sometimes for states existing in the past. The past progressive is formed using the simple past of be with the main verb's present participle. He was going. This form indicates that an action was ongoing at the past time under consideration. The past perfect combines had with the past participle of the main verb. We had shouted. This denotes that an action occurred before a specified time in the past, and therefore has similar function to the pluperfect found in some languages. The past perfect progressive combines had with been and the present participle of the main verb. You had been waiting. the expression used to denote a past habitual situation. Although with a stative verb it can just indicate that a state was continuously in effect, it is often used to emphasize that something is no longer the case. Another way of referring to past habitual action is to use would, as in as a child I would play the piano every day, although this auxiliary has other uses as well. For further details see English modal verbs. For details of the usage of the various constructions used to refer to the past, see uses of English verb forms. Note that the past tense is also used in referring to some hypothetical situations, not necessarily connected with past time, as in if I tried or I wish I knew. German uses two forms for the past tense: the preterite, the perfect. In southern Germany, Austria and Switzerland, the preterite is mostly used solely in writing, for example in stories. Use in speech is regarded as snobbish and thus very uncommon. South German dialects, such as the Bavarian dialect, as well as Yiddish and Swiss German, have no preterite, but only perfect constructs. In certain regions, a few specific verbs are used in the preterite, for instance the modal verbs and the verbs haben and sein. Es gab einmal ein kleines Mädchen, das Rotkäppchen hieß. In speech and informal writing, the perfect is used. However, in the oral mode of North Germany, there is still a very important difference between the preterite and the perfect, and both tenses are consequently very common. The preterite is used for past actions when the focus is on the action, whilst the present perfect is used for past actions when the focus is on the present state of the subject as a result of a previous action. This is somewhat similar to the English usage of the preterite and the present perfect. Preterite: Heute, früh kam mein Freund. Perfect: Heute, früh ist mein Freund gekommen. Dutch mainly uses these two past tenses, Untitled Verleden TIJD, which matches the English simple past and the German preterite. For example, gestern was ich da. Voltoid Tegenwördige TIJD, a present tense with the meaning of perfect. This form is made by combining a form of ZIJN or haben with the notional verb. For example, gestern bin ich da gewesen. This also means, I was there yesterday, but just as it is the case for English constructions with the present perfect simple, this kind of formulation puts more emphasis on the being finished aspect. Less common is the Voltoid Verleden TIJD, which corresponds to the English past perfect. It is formed by combining an Unvoltoid Verleden form of ZIJN or haben with the notional verb. For example, ich was da vorgestern gewesen. This means, I had been there before yesterday. This tense is used to indicate that one action in the past occurred before another past action, and that the action was fully finished before the second action took place. Other groups in non-Germanic Indo-European languages. Past marking is typically combined with a distinction between perfective and imperfective aspect, with the former reserved for single completed actions in the past. French, for instance, has an imperfect tense form similar to that of German but used only for past habitual or past progressive contexts like I used to or I was doing. Similar patterns extend across most languages of the Indo-European family right through to the Indic languages. Unlike other Indo-European languages, in Slavic languages tense is independent of aspect, with imperfective and perfective aspects being indicated instead by means of prefixes, stem changes, or suppletion. In many West Slavic and East Slavic languages, the early Slavic past tenses have largely merged into a single past tense. In both West and East Slavic, verbs in the past tense are conjugated for gender and number. Romance French has numerous forms of the past tense including but not limited to past perfective e.g., ji mangi, past imperfective e.g., je manges, past historic or simple past e.g., je mangerai, pluperfect e.g., j'avais mangé, recent past e.g., je viens de manger just ate. For more details, see French verbs. African languages. While in Semitic languages tripartite non-past, past imperfective, past perfective systems similar to those of most Indo-European languages are found. In the rest of Africa, past tenses have very different forms from those found in European languages. Berber languages have only the perfective, imperfective distinction and lack a past imperfect. Many non-Bantu Niger-Congo languages of West Africa do not mark past tense at all but instead have a form of perfect derived from a word meaning to finish. Others, such as you, distinguish only between future and non-future. In complete contrast, Bantu languages such as Zulu have not only a past tense, but also a less remote proximal tense which is used for very recent past events and is never interchangeable with the ordinary past form. These languages also differ substantially from European languages encoding tense with prefixes instead of such suffixes as English ed. Other, smaller language families of Africa follow quite regional patterns. Thus, the Sudanic languages of East Africa and adjacent Afro-Asiatic families are part of the same area with inflectional past marking that extends into Europe, whereas more westerly Nilo-Saharan languages often do not have past tense. Asian languages. Past tenses are found in a variety of Asian languages. These include the Indo-European languages, Russian in North Asia and Persian, Urdu, and Hindi in Southwest and South Asia, the Turkic languages Turkish, Turkmen, Kazakh, and Uyghur of Southwest and Central Asia, Arabic in Southwest Asia, Japanese, the Dravidian languages of India, the Uralic languages of Russia, Mongolic, and Korean. Languages in East Asia and Southeast Asia typically do not distinguish tense. In Mandarin Chinese, for example, the particle le when used immediately after a verb instead indicates perfective aspect. In parts of islands in Southeast Asia, even less distinction is made, for instance in Indonesian and some other Austronesian languages. Past tenses do, however, exist in most oceanic languages. The Americas. Among Native American languages there is a split between complete absence of past marking and very complex tense marking with numerous specialized remoteness distinctions, as found for instance in Athabascan languages and a few languages of the Amazon basin. Some of these tenses can have specialized mythological significance and uses. A number of Native American languages like Northern Paiute stand in contrast to European notions of tense because they always use relative tense, which means time relative to a reference point that may not coincide with the time an utterance is made. New Guinea. Papuan languages of New Guinea almost always have remoteness distinctions in the past tense, whilst indigenous Australian languages usually have a single past tense without remoteness distinctions. Creole languages. Creole languages tend to make tense marking optional, and when tense is marked invariant preverbal markers are used. Belizean Creole. In Belizean Creole, past tense marking is optional and is rarely used if a semantic temporal marker such as yesterday, yesterday is present. Singaporean English Creole. Singaporean English Creole optionally marks the past tense, most often in irregular verbs and regular verbs like except, which require an extra syllable for the past tense suffix ed. Hawaiian Creole English. Hawaiian Creole English optionally marks the past tense with the invariant preverbal marker when or been or haed. The past habitual marker is used.